Welcome back to Book Break and welcome to our August book haul. I have a massive box on the floor next to me, which it just took me a lot of effort to lug up the stairs to film this, and it is filled with some of the most exciting books that we published here at Macmillan throughout the month of August. So let's unbox it together and see what we've got. At the top of the box, one of the biggest books we have published, also lining the shelves behind me. This book has had so much hype, so deserved, Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. We actually ran our first ever Book Break book club for this book and I absolutely loved the whole week. Let me know if you followed along with any of it. We had so much going on. We had quizzes, we had guest videos from Olivia, we were kind of reading it along together, we had discussions over on Instagram. There was a lot of fun activity going on, audiobook extracts, you get the vibe. There was a lot going on, and actually I have a video which I'll link to below on this channel of a full wrap-up vlog of the week, including my thoughts on the book. I thought it was a really fun book. This is fantasy. It's about a vampire estate agent who is trying to sell a house which she is struggling to sell because it's haunted. The vampire and the ghost become frenemies and they then get sucked in accidentally to this much bigger high stakes game going on involving Death himself. So it's a really fun adventure, really funny, really moving. I adored it. It was actually my first Olivia Blake book that I ever read, so officially welcome me into the fandom now. Next up, a Leah Williamson book talking about the massive things that happened in August, the World Cup. I was so sad not to see Leah Williamson in the World Cup, so sad for her because she is my idol. She is one of my heroes. I absolutely love her. I think she's incredible. I already have her non-fiction, but now this is a fiction book written by Leah Williamson with Jordan Glover. So this is a time travel book. If you are a long-time fan of the channel, you'll know that time travel is another of my biggest loves. So in this, Leah, George and Mimi are transported 100 years back in time and make an unexpected discovery. Women's football has been banned. I could cry. So it's all about kind of correcting the wrongs of the past, bringing the forgotten footballers of history back to the centre. So I love that as a concept. That's so cool. Fling by J.F. Murray is out now in paperback. I love this colour scheme. Look how cool that is. So this is a romance written by an Irish author, J.F. Murray, and it is a book that follows roughly along the lines of the Pina Colada song. So that gives you an idea of the kind of second chance romance you're going to find in this book. It's also really moving and really real. So there's a lot that happens in the book kind of explaining how the marriage between the two main characters has started to crumble and the things that have had an effect on it, including several rounds of IVF. So it's a really real, honest book. And then a new thriller from Alice Feeney herself, queen of the twist ending, Good Bad Girl. I have not read this one yet. I think this is the only Alice Feeney that I haven't read so far. That will shortly be corrected. 20 years after a baby is stolen, a woman is murdered in a care home. The two crimes are somehow linked, and a good bad girl may be the key to discovering the truth. Wow, I cannot wait to see how they link up, because I just know from experience with Alice Feeney that it is not going to be in a way that I had ever predicted, and it will blow my mind. A new Anne Cleeves book is always cause for a lot of excitement. The Raging Storm is the latest book in the Two Rivers series featuring Detective Matthew Venn. You may have seen the TV adaptation of this series, which is called The Long Call. Anne Cleeves is particularly beloved for her amazing settings. This book is set in Greystone, Devon, in the middle of an autumn gale, and a local celebrity sailor goes missing and then his body is found in a dinghy. So Detective Matthew Venn has to solve the case, but soon realises that his own life may be in danger because the storm is raging and the village is close to becoming cut off. I've got a children's book here from an absolute legend, Lenny Henry. This is You Can Do Anything Tyrone. It's an out-of-this-world, fun-filled adventure. And it is really colourful and beautiful. So this is about Tyrone, who wants to build a fantastic rocket and go to the moon. There's just one problem, it's harder than he thinks. Luckily, Grandad is there to show him that with some determination and imagination, Tyrone can do anything. That's lovely. Oh look, this has got little flashbacks to his granddad's past. Looks like a really inspirational, lovely story. Then we've got a new literary fiction hardback. This is Annam by Andre Dow. So I have not read this one. Let's have a look together at what it's about. Born into a Vietnamese family based in Melbourne, a human rights lawyer is haunted by the story of his grandfather, living in exile in France after a decade imprisoned in Saigon's notorious Chi Hoa prison. It sounds gorgeous. So it says here that this book blends fiction and essay, philosophy and everyday life to kind of imagine what has been repressed and forgotten from history, both by the archives but also from families relaying their own history, what has been left out and forgotten. And the book moves from the 1930s Hanoi through a series of seemingly never-ending wars and displacements to Saigon, Paris, Melbourne and Cambridge. Sounds incredible. And then the literary fiction paperback Hinterland. So this is set in 1944 and it's about a young German soldier. So at this point the war is clearly lost but not officially over, and this is the story of Veit, this young German soldier, his nightmares, the strange way he is trying to return to normal village life, the teacher that he falls in love with but who doesn't return his affection, and how finally his wounds start to be healed, only for him to be called up to the front again. So this book was actually first published in German, has been translated into English by Jamie Bullock, and it's a really powerful anti-war novel. Here's one I have read, Learned by Heart by Emma Donoghue. Emma Donoghue is one of my favourite historical fiction writers, and Learned by Heart is based on the true story of Eliza Reign and Anne Lister. So Anne Lister is the inspiration behind Gentleman Jack, if you watch that. This is based on the true story of how when she was a teenager, she went to a boarding school and she met a girl called Eliza Reign, and the two of them fell in love. They had this schoolgirl romance, and then Anne Lister grew up and moved on. But Eliza Reign did not. And she ended up in a mental home for the rest of her life, writing these tragic love letters to Anne, her first and only love. So this book is kind of jumps back and forth between both timelines. So we follow the story of them meeting and falling in love at school, and it's all from Eliza's perspective. So you see how completely she idolizes Anne. And then interspersed with that are these letters that we see her writing from this mental asylum where she is being kept, and see how doomed this love story is. So real tearjerker. For the fantasy fans, He Who Drowns the World by Shelley Parker Chan is the sequel to She Who Became the Sun. That was a very popular, beloved novel, so a lot of people have been very excited for the follow-up. These are high-stakes historical fantasy books about big ambitions and burning desires, and it even says here, what would you give to win the world? Some more fantasy. Unraveler by Frances Harding is now out in paperback. In a world full of curses, what does it take to break free? So this is about a world where curses are real and anyone has the power to curse somebody, but only one person has the power to unravel those curses. Threatening creatures stalk the shadows, known curses are disappearing, and with every passing day, Kellen feels his control weakening. Is time running out for the Unraveler? Sea Change by Gina Chung is a literary fiction book that I really enjoyed. This book is very quirky and unusual, but also really moving. So it's about a girl whose boyfriend has just left her to go to outer space on a one-way mission to Mars, from which he is not coming back. And her best friend is a giant octopus at the aquarium where she works, who is in danger of being sold. So this book definitely does not have your typical storyline or typical characters, but it's actually a really moving story about grief and change and depression and mental health, and I really loved it. Now I have something huge in this box. This is an advent calendar. Does that mean I'm officially allowed to get excited for Christmas? I think so. I think that's what this is telling me. This is the Gruffalo and Friends Advent Calendar book collection. Oh my goodness. It's got 24 books in here. Are you ready? It's so cool. So each of these little pockets opens up to reveal a mini book. The Gruffalo activity book. This is so cute. This has got little activities and games. Let's open another one. I'm going to open 16 because that's my lucky number. Oh, I ripped it. Guess I'm keeping this one. Gruffalo crumble and other recipes. How cool! Ooh, great recipes. Toadstool pizza. I'm gonna make that tonight. Mouse toast. That's so cute. Let's put that back in and pretend I didn't just rip it. Ta-da! All tied back up, no one will ever know. But don't worry, I am going to keep this one. I'm not actually going to trick anyone into getting a damaged book. But this is so cool. I love Christmas. But the box is not empty yet, not even close. Spirits Abroad by Zen Cho is a collection of short stories. Zen Cho is another very beloved author. She's the author of Blackwater Sister, the Sorcerer to the Crown series. So this is a collection of fantasy short stories. They're all inspired by Malaysian and East Asian myth and folklore. And it's a really gorgeous cover. These two go very well together. I think that means that you have to buy both. Another chunky hardback here, Raven Song by TJ Klune. This is book number 2 in the Green Creek series. Gordo Livingston never forgot the lessons carved into his skin. Hardened by the betrayal of the wolf pack who left him behind, he vowed to steer clear of shapeshifters and their affairs. And this should have been enough. Something tells me it's not gonna be. So this is another tortured love story about werewolves and danger and everything we love from this series. The Marriage Act by John Mars is out now in paperback. This book was so gripping. John Mars is a really brilliant dystopian writer who is not afraid to shock you, to kill off your favourite characters. His books get dark and really thought-provoking. It's kind of Black Mirror-esque. So the Marriage Act is set in a world where marriage is now really closely monitored by the government. Everyone is encouraged to get married and stay married. Those who choose to stay single are punished by the government. So you can't live in certain areas, you don't get access to certain rights. And on top of that, there is a little Alexa-like device living in your house, listening to all of your conversations with your spouse and monitoring whether or not it thinks your marriage is stable enough. So it's a really creepy Big Brother-esque world. I read this all in one sitting because I could not put it down. On a kind of similar theme, The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings is also out now in paperback and is also set in a world where the state mandates that people get married. But this is a very different kind of book, so this is more fantasy dystopia. In this world, witches are real, and if you are suspected of being a witch, you are in big trouble. So our main character is a woman called Jo, who is approaching her 30th birthday, and 30 is the age by which you are obliged to marry. If you do not get married, then you completely forfeit your autonomy and you agree to be monitored by the state. But not only does Jo have that to worry about, she also has the extra complication that her mother, who went missing many years before, was suspected to have been a witch, which means the suspicion falls on Jo as well. It says here, in this powerful and timely novel, Megan Giddings explores the limits women face and the powers they have to transgress and transcend them. Also out in paperback now, Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I've not read this one yet and I really want to because I love Blake Crouch. He is such a good sci-fi speculative writer. Again, he writes books that make you really question things. So this book is about a man who has been targeted for an upgrade. His genes have been hacked and he is now better than everyone around him. He can multitask quicker, he can read faster, he can memorize more, he can sleep deeper. Sounds amazing. But he knows this is not natural. He knows his genes have been hacked and that there is a terrifying plan to take over and upgrade the whole world's population. And he might be the only person with the powers to stop it. For another fun thriller, Nanny Wanted by Lizzie Barber looks very dark and intriguing. So this is about a young woman called Lily who finally leaves her toxic relationship and takes a job which seems perfect as a nanny, so she can completely cut herself off from her old life and start again. And this family that she starts working with seem like the model family. She feels completely, instantly at home in her new life. But she can't help feeling that something isn't quite right. As Lily becomes increasingly entangled in the Rose lives, she realizes that the perfect family may not be all that they seem, and as much as she fears the past she's running from, perhaps the present is where the real danger lies. Ooh, shivers. Catherine Cooper has described it as a Du Maurier-style domestic noir. It's just my favourite kind of thing. And the last book, we're finally at the last book. That was quite the haul. No, we're not. I've just bent over and realised there are 2 books in there. So we have a romance. Nice little break from all of the thrillers and dystopians I've just been describing to you. Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison is a really cute, cozy romance. This romance is between a bashful man who can rock a Hawaiian shirt and a hopeful and dreamy bakery owner. Adorable. So Caleb has a long-term crush on the hot bakery owner who serves him coffee every morning. That's Layla. She has had another date gone bad, and so Caleb comes up with a simple proposition: 1 month of no strings dating. He'll do his best to renew her faith in love, I love this already, while she rates his romantic game. It's a win-win situation. Will Caleb be the secret ingredient that Layla has been missing? I love it. And now we're on to the final book. This is a follow-up to a very, very popular book, More Confessions of a 40-something F-Up by Alexandra Potter. So the first book, Confessions of a 40-something F-Up, has been so beloved, has been so relatable to so many people. It was all about a woman whose life kind of fell off track, wasn't where she expected it to be. And it's about feeling like an F-up and then realizing that you're not, and that you're not alone. And so we finally have more confessions. We're going to pick right up where book 1 left off. So in this book, of course, Nell's life still isn't going to plan, but there are laugh out loud lessons to be learned, truth to be told, adventures to go on, and joys to discover. These books are really, really heartwarming, laugh out loud, hilarious. I can see why everyone loves them so much. I made it to the bottom of the box. Actually is empty now. So that was our August book haul. Do let me know in the comments below which of those books you're most excited to get your hands on. And I will link here to the video I mentioned wrapping up our whole Master of Death book break book club week, because it was so much fun. So I want you to come along for the ride with us. And if you didn't join in with the week at the time, everything is still online, so you still can. And I will link to the landing page below so you can go and find everything to maximize your enjoyment of reading Master of Death. And I'll see you next time.